Welcome to the Growth Fire Podcast, where we engage with top business leaders who share their experiences and provide real insights that help them attract customers, retain staff, and grow their bottom line. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi there, I'm Kevin Horrigan, host of the show, where I feature inspiring business leaders from various backgrounds and industries who are willing to share their stories and insights. Today's podcast is brought to you by Spinutech. Hey, Bret, at Spinutech, we help middle market and larger companies get more leads. Who doesn't want more leads, right? At Spinutech, we take an end-to-end digital approach, starting with your website and making sure it's the right aesthetic appeal and convincing content to convert your visitors into action. And then we look through all your digital marketing tactics, such as search engine optimization, paid search, organic and paid social, email marketing, and more. With the correct website and optimized digital marketing campaigns in place, we help our clients grow. To learn more, go to www.spintech.com. Well, today's guest is Bret Blakely. Bret is a serial entrepreneur and the co-founder of OnCore Golf, a company that's disrupted the traditional golf industry with cutting-edge high-performance golf ball technology. With a background in branding, marketing, and business development, Bret has been instrumental in transforming OnCore Golf from a bold startup idea to a recognized leader in golf innovation. Under his leadership, OnCore Golf pioneered the use of perimeter-weighted golf balls, challenging industry giants and earning the loyal following of many amateur and pros alike. The company's breakthrough designs, including advanced core technologies and embedded sensor capabilities, have positioned OnCore as a driving force in the evolution of golf equipment. Beyond golf, Bret is a passionate entrepreneur who thrives on pushing boundaries and turning ambitious ideas into marketing challenging realities. His ability to blend creativity with business strategy has made him a sought-after voice in both sports and startup worlds, providing that success in business, like success in golf, comes with precision, perseverance, and a willing to take bold swings. Bret, welcome to the Growth Fire Podcast.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Kevin.
Yeah, no, let's give a huge shout out to Crystal at PR Group for help making the podcast happen today.
Yeah, absolutely. And had no idea that it was going to be a fellow Buffalonian, so I love that.
Yeah. Born and bred in Buffalo, man. We're going to have a lot to bond about today. Bret, we just let everyone know you're born in Buffalo, but tell us a little bit more about yourself. Born in Buffalo, tell us about growing up. What did you study at school? What did little Bret want to be when he turned into Big Bret? Did he really want to be the founder of a golf ball company? Let's hear more about it.
Yeah, that's funny. Little Bret definitely did not know anything about golf other than some of his friends played. And, I kind of grew up, I played every sport, hockey and basketball and soccer. And I was really good at those. And I never played golf because I didn't start young. And I was not into the, I wasn't down to go and play golf and be the worst one of my friends. So I kind of avoided it like the plague.
Right.
Plus, back then, I don't think golf had the same kind of cool factor that it does now.
Sure.
When I was a real little kid, I was, all about the dinosaurs, and I was really into UFOs. I remember writing to MUFON and getting like blacked out documents, and I thought I was going to go down that path or something. But looks like the aliens are coming to us these days. So,
Right.
maybe there's still an opportunity. But I went to, grew up in Buffalo. So passionate, Buffalo sports fan. Absolutely love this city. Really do. The people, everything about it is amazing. Back when I was in college, or when I graduated college, this was kind of before the revolution, or I guess the renaissance of Buffalo. Buffalo's really undergone a huge growth, and change and everything. But I went to school for marketing, and when I got out of college, there really were no marketing agencies here. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for that. And I had always had this itch to go to New York City anyway, not to live forever, but just for a few years. One of my older brothers lived there for years, and I used to visit him as a kid and just loved it, loved the energy of it. I'm a very, very, very energetic person. Like, everything is kind of led with passion and emotion. That's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes, I think, but definitely a heart on my sleeve type guy. And, so right after college, I was literally delivering pizzas, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I just saw a lot of my friends, not go places because they didn't have a job set up. They didn't have this or that, which that's, practical. I'm not so practical. And I decided to sell my car, book a flight to New York, look at a couple places, and like a moron, I decided to get the first place that I looked at, which was a luxury apartment on Wall Street.
Wow.
I'm like, if I'm going there, I'm going big. And I had enough money to pay for, a few months of rent because of selling my car. I wasn't going to need a car.
Right.
And I just remember walking down to the neighborhood the first day, and I see this beautiful gym called Equinox, and they have a bunch of them.
Yep.
Had never been into a gym like that. I go in and I ask for or to see how much a membership is, and it was like $300 a month. I'm like, oh, how about an application?
Right.
And so that kind of started my life in New York. I moved there a few weeks later and got my personal trainer license and was training the men and women on Wall Street from like 4 a.m. until noon. And then at the other end of Wall Street, I act as like, it was a temp job at a law firm, just filing stuff, and did that for about 6 months. And then had a headhunter help me find jobs in marketing. And I worked for a couple international ad agencies. And you gave me a lot of credit in the beginning. And I almost feel uncomfortable taking all that, because OnCore is the birth of, the baby of a lot of people. I met Steve Colton down there, who was from Long Island, played golf in college, very smart, was working at Deutsche Bank. My friend Nasir Sutherland, he was an unofficial co-founder as well. And we basically birthed OnCore out of desperation. It was 2008. The job market had completely tanked.
Sure.
My agency, the heads of it, flew in unannounced from Paris, and we knew that wasn't a good sign. And I think 70% of the people in the building, including myself, that day got let go, and it was shut down within a week. Deutsche Bank had massive layoffs, so Steve and I both lost our jobs the same day. And the next morning, met for some coffee just to figure out what we were going to do. And there was this inventor named Doug Defoe who had worked for my father. My father had been an advanced materials serial entrepreneur. He was doing stuff with nanotechnology, all sorts of crazy, crazy things. But one of his engineers had invented a golf ball that had a hollow metal core. And the idea was to shift weight from the center of the ball to the perimeter, because that is going to create a reduction in side spin, making it a more accurate ball. Steve always found this fascinating, as did I, especially Steve, because he was in golf. And so we're having coffee, and he's like, maybe we could make some extra money while we're looking for full-time jobs, marketing this thing. So of course I reach out to my father and tell him this brilliant idea that we have. And he's like, well, there's no real company to market it for. So I don't know what to tell you. So that led to, all right, well, why don't we start our own company and commercialize this? And my dad being a serial entrepreneur, I asked him, well, how do you do that? Thinking he'd give me an easy answer. And he's like, nice try. You guys can go to the Small Business Association. I had 6 months left on my lease.
Yep.
And he felt like if we had done that, he's like, there are lawyers there that give you free advice.
Yep.
So we did for 6 months, learned what bylaws were, learned how to write a proper business plan, put together our strategy, what we wanted the mission of the brand to be, and how we were going to differentiate, and came up with a name. And that was kind of where it started. And then it took about 2.5 years for the intellectual property to move over to our hands. Doug Defoe, the inventor, became a part of it. In 2011 is when we officially launched OnCore Golf.
Now, that's a great, great story, Bret. So much there. I think one of the common things you shared with many of the guests on the Growth Fire podcast is the career or the business that they're in today wasn't what they dreamed about when they were a little kid, right? And so often adversity or opportunity changes their career trajectory. And, you and Steve both losing your job on the same day, that's a pretty ironic thing.
Yeah.
And while that creates adversity, it also opened the door for opportunity. And I think some of the feedback for the audience is in your journey of growth, don't always view adversity as bad news. View it as the opportunity to consider something as a change in your trajectory. And so many guests of the Growth Fire podcast turned adversity into opportunity. And you're just another one who's able to share that story. So you became a business owner. What have you found to be the most rewarding? And then, of course, the follow-up question to that, Bret's going to be, is what have you found the most challenging area?
So the most rewarding has definitely been, the ability to bring to life our own ideas, to kind of have our fate and destiny somewhat in our control and hands, but to bring a vision to life. We always we felt like golf had always been too elitist, too exclusive, not inclusive enough.
Yep.
A little stodgy, and there are a lot of things that we loved about golf, but those were not it. And we felt like, all right, we know all these other companies are based out in Carlsbad and they're killing it and everything. Well, we're not going to be able to move to California. We can be the East Coast cool, the young and everything, grow the game by being a more inclusive brand. And so that's been fun. The other thing is charity is huge to both Steve and I. So to be able to, choose who we work with, figure out ways that we're able to give back from the charitable component is amazing. But more importantly not more importantly, I should just say, one of the other rewarding things is the fact that we've seen dozens of companies come and go. Not the big names. We all know the 5, 6 big names. And that's why the industry is near impossible, because it's just on lockdown from multi-billion-dollar brands that have been around for decades.
Sure.
So we've seen people come and go over the last 13 years. And the fact that we are still here is probably what I would say both of us are most proud of. It's not easy from a very early start, with that hollow metal core technology. The ball wasn't great, by the way. It was accurate. The science behind perimeter weighting worked. Nobody had ever done it in golf balls. It had been done in clubs and putters. But that was just our on-ramp into the industry.
Yes.
And, when we tried to get it approved by the USGA as conforming, even though it wasn't a tour quality ball yet, we knew that was really important to be able to make a business out of. And they rejected it twice without even testing it. We knew they didn't test it because they told us it took 10 days and we got letters of rejection within 5. So we felt like there's maybe a little bit of an old boys club going. Who knows? The Titleist might have been like, we've seen them getting some headlines and news at the PGA show. Let's just squash these cockroaches, as what's his name would say on Shark Tank. But we also felt like, we had to keep fighting this thing. And we did. We appealed to the executive standard committee because it met all the quantifiable metrics. And we got a letter 11 weeks later stating that we had been the second company only since 1926 to get them to rewrite the rules governing golf ball construction.
Wow.
And that was kind of a tipping point, because it got the attention of John Calabria and Mike Jordan, who are 2 of the industry's most renowned engineers that have worked with all the big guys. I mean, John Calabria is one of the 4 inventors, Titleist tasked with inventing the urethane cover.
Yep.
Cast urethane cover. Mike Jordan has help build and create and design some of every one of these listeners' favorite golf balls that they've played from all the big guys. So they know what they were doing. And them coming on board and seeing like, wow, we have this whole new set of design parameters to develop balls around, and this science of making, such a tighter shot dispersion on mishits and all these different performance benefits. But figuring out a way to do that without a hollow metal core because of the sound, the hardness, the distance shortage that it was creating. Their expertise with the concept of perimeter weighting has allowed us to create a full suite of golf balls that are better than anything out there. I mean, better than what the billion-dollar brands, give you, and allows us flexibility in being able to create, balls for every skill level. Other companies do too, but we feel like we've got an edge because there are other performance characteristics that we can do. So I think just leaning into that early, foundation of technology and innovation, it's been very rewarding to see that we actually have a reputation of that in the industry. We may not have the same market share yet.
Right.
We may not ever, and that's not important. What's important is that we've got a very loyal following that's growing rapidly, and a set of products that when they use it once, they usually come back and use it again and again and again. And it's just been rewarding too, being able to work with my father. He came on 3 years in. We needed help navigating the areas that we were completely green in. and we needed more than the angel and family and friends financing that we had been able to scrape by with the first couple of years. And he had a Rolodex and he had insight. So he came on 3 years in, and that's been that's something that I think every father and son would dream of being able to do. And a lot of highs, a lot of lows. And so sorry to go on and on. I guess I'll
No, I mean, the passion's coming out, right? You mentioned it, you heard it, but I guess you started the conversation about when you and Steve lost your job, and you're having this cup of coffee and brainstormed on this idea, and you called your father, and he's like, "Yeah, not really. Go to the Small Business Administration and go get." Sounds like a few years later, he thinks you passed all the tests that he wanted you to do, and comes on board and helps you guys, and you're father and son partners. That's a great story.
Yeah, no, for sure. And as much as all that is great, you asked what the most challenging part is, and I think the most challenging part is the industry itself. It is very hard to get people to believe that any company not named Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Bridgestone, Strixon, all them can make a golf ball, or to get them to pay attention to listen to the fact that, hey, we have engineers that develop some of those golf balls.
Right.
That is our credibility. Oh, well, how come you don't have 799 players on tour using it like Titleist, and if it's better than that ball or better than this ball? Well, let me tell you, because it costs a boatload of money, and there is no such thing as a ball that is so demonstrably better that a player is just going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to give up a $40 million contract or a $10 million contract. No, we listen, we can absolutely give data that shows it's going to go straighter. It's going to, spin better. It's going to do all this. But at the end of the day, it's super tough to be able to justify somebody taking a $10 million haircut to play your ball or whatever. That said, we have had multiple tour players start to invest in OnCore, and that'll be looking at playing the ball. We are currently looking at designing specific balls for specific tour players. So that's been a unique angle that we never thought would be a possibility as far as getting players on board and playing the ball. But that's exciting, and I think it just lends itself to the credibility. But it is challenging, and trying to keep up with your own growth has been a challenge. I think some of our lowest points have been after some of our biggest highs.
Wow. Yeah.
We will have a huge spike in growth, and it nearly puts us out of business, because unless you have, 4 times that in funding or financing or just bankroll to be able to keep up with that, you're just going to get drowned out.
Right.
And the inventory financing alone is what is so huge. So those have been scary moments that we've always risen from the ashes like the phoenix. But it's very annoying, to say the least, when you face a challenge where you might go out of business because of success.
Yes. And your growth is going to put you out of business. That's a huge challenge, right?
Yeah. But you're learning how to navigate that, and also how to, all right, well, we're launching our first national TV commercial shortly that people will be seeing on Golf Channel. And, it's going to be the largest visibility that we've ever had, which is really exciting. But we've already been in the planning stages of, all right, so how much inventory do we expect? We have no idea. This is television. It's not the same. It's not as easy to track, but we're coming up with plans of, all right, well, if we're running low on X model or Y model or Z model, how much will it cost us to air freight instead of, ship by boat and this and that? So there's just a lot of things that I think we're going to be able to navigate better those big spikes in success because of the challenges that we've had before.
Yeah. And I think, Bret, you're kind of just describing, business growing pains, right? And so, I think that, many of the guests, talk about those big spikes in growth, sometimes are create a byproduct of, oh my gosh, well, we weren't expecting this. And it's those growing pains. Good news, they're growing pains, not shrinking pains, but those growing, can be difficult. Speaking of growing, you talk about some of these spikes in growth and orders and so on. Who is your target market, and how do you try to acquire new customers?
This is going to sound stupid. It really is every golfer. And the reason I say that, it's because we have developed 4 models. We actually have 3 new and improved versions of those coming out in 2025, which is really exciting. But we tried to address every swing speed, every, I don't know that everybody, I think most people don't even know their swing speed. But
Right.
when they get a ball fitting or a club fitting, when they go to their Golf Galaxy or their local pro and do it, that's one of the things they will often test. That's why there are different compression golf balls. If you have a really high swing speed and you hit a really low compression ball, you are not going to get the distance that you would with a higher compression ball. If you're able to compress a 95 or 105 compression ball, then you're going to get a lot of distance out of that. But if you have a low swing speed and try to hit a ball that high compression, it's going to feel like a rock and it's not going to go very far. So, everything from our 55 compression Avant all the way up to our 95 Vero X2, we feel like we are, we have a ball that is for everybody. Between one of those is going to be the right ball for you. And we're constantly trying to make improvements, and we're looking at an even higher compression ball, for those guys that are swinging out of their shoes. But
Right.
it's, we're focused on, the large buying audience is traditionally older, or has been for us anyway, over the last 5-6 years. And part of that is just the popularity of golf too. It's
Sure.
gotten younger and younger. So we've maintained that older, 50 to 75 demographic, but now we're getting a lot more of those young, out of college, working professional. Because that's kind of what it is, right? It's like golf used to be like skater culture, where it was very niche.
Yes.
You didn't really necessarily talk about it. Now it's like, if you're not golfing, what are you doing?
Right. No, definitely on a resurgence for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
How are you finding the opportunity to get that new demographic to purchase your ball? What is it that you're doing from a marketing perspective, branding perspective? What is it that you think you're gaining market share in that demographic?
I think it's, telling the technology story has been important. We've seen success and failure with that. Failure in the sense that a lot of people don't care about tech, and they just want the brand that's like super cool and maybe has like the funny content creators doing their stuff. We also don't want to be. We want to humanize and be a fun brand, but we don't want to necessarily fully lean into that, because we don't want to be confused with brands that are, they might be really cool, but guess what? They don't actually have engineers. They don't actually have technology. There are a lot of brands that people play. I won't throw anyone under the bus, but there's some very popular ones that, they have all these models, the Tour Pro, this and that. They white label.
Sure.
They don't have any technology. And so
Right.
we're like, guys, we have actual technology that not even the biggest names in golf have. Listen to our stories. So that's kind of, some of the frustration sometimes. But for the people that aren't at tech, because a lot of golfers, are kind of tech geeks, or they're buying every training aid. That's important to them. But,
Sure.
to your point, it's walking that fine line and having great ambassadors, being lucky and fortunate enough to have big names involved, whether it's Josh Allen as an investor or the tour players. We've got, Thomas Peters just invested, Harold Varner, Taylor Gooch. We've got several guys on the PGA Tour that are looking at coming on board soon. Those add credibility for us too. But we try and, we're trying to make sure that we at least look and feel like a premium brand. And we try and do as much with just human interaction, whether it's customer service, being at events in person. I think any point that we have or any opportunity to humanize the company is great, because people will buy a product and maybe love it, but maybe not play it again, or only do it if it's convenient. But if they like the people, and they like the product, you usually have them for life. So
Yeah.
This year, actually coming into it, we've got a little bit bigger of a budget. We're undergoing a big capital raise, and we're going to do a lot of the things that we have been unable to do, without being properly financed. So now that we, think we're going to be in that position, we want to do a lot more of the not only ambassador marketing, but like just the I guess merging of both the tech story with a brand that actually cares, small company with a big heart
Right.
type of mentality. Because I think that the underdog is a story that everybody likes to get behind, and we are an underdog.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. It's a great story, Bret. Bret, you've mentioned a lot of people on this call. I'm going to ask you the next question. I think it's a loaded question. Have you had any mentors in your journey, and how do they help you grow? Maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about how those mentors have helped influence you and help become a leader and grow in your journey.
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely my father. I mean, from a kid before, small kid, just seeing how he worked, and I mean, I still got a lot to learn. I am not the star of the show here. I'm just one of many moving parts. I would actually say that he is the superhero because, unfortunately, he's been kind of, when he came on board, he tasked himself with making sure that we always had the money that we needed. And so I've pitched with him and all this and that, but he also wanted us to be able to run the day to day and stay focused on that, because raising money or, finding finance, that's a full-time job. And when the chips are down, he has always persevered, not gotten frustrated. For anyone that's started a business, how frustrating raising capital can be. You get a lot of people that like to talk about how much money they have and they're going to do it and this and that, and then they don't, and it puts you in a bad position. So that's part of the entrepreneurial journey for sure. And I mentioned earlier how I'm kind of a heart on my sleeve.
Yes.
Well, the no's affect me greatly, and the yeses affect me greatly too. So one of the things that I always try and work on is being more even keel. And that is definitely a work in progress, because I get really excited and I get really low. But my father, he just seems to understand that you have to push through no matter how good, no matter how bad. And Steve Colton, the co-founder, is the same. It's like a Buddhist monk. I swear that, the house could be burning down around him and it's all good, man. It's going to be okay. That type of thing. But yeah, my father's obviously a huge mentor, and there are just a lot of people in my life that I've surrounded myself with, or I've met through the game of golf. Some that are ambassadors, some that are have just become friends that are, amazing stories. And those are mentors and influencers in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of things about myself personally that I, want to work on. I go to counseling, started that a few months ago because I was like, I should do this. This is good to just have an unbiased opinion, somebody that can help you work through things. I think it makes you a better leader, better husband, better person. But there are people that are not, my counselor or necessarily somebody that I would classify as a typical mentor. They're just people in my life that I respect, characteristics of, that I want to adopt myself or use. So it's pretty wide. There's a lot of them.
Well, and it sounds like you subscribe a lot of guests. We talk about, there's a few old sayings about who you surround yourself with, but there's a saying about, you are who you hang with, choose accordingly, right? And so it sounds like a great group. And I remember, as a father, there was a question about, how's the children doing? And the answer was show me who their friends are, and I'll show you I'll show you where their future is going to be. And so,
Wow.
You're surrounding yourselves with the right. There's another saying, to soar with the eagles, you got to distance yourself from the buzzards. There's all kinds of sayings out there. I'm a big saying guy, but the core of all three of those is you are who you surround yourself around. And if you can choose that surrounding, you can show where your future is going to go too. And it sounds like you've not only great mentors and your father, but you surround yourself with a great group of people who just continue to help you elevate and get better. And that's part of what the Growth Fire podcast is doing. What you're sharing today, your story you're sharing today, Bret's inspiring to everybody. And they're surrounding themselves by just, listening or watching this podcast today. And we appreciate you sharing your story. We appreciate you putting your heart on your sleeve and putting it all out there. Bret, if anyone wants to connect with you after watching or listening to this podcast today, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can, reach out through, my email is Bret with one T at OnCore Golf, OnCoregolf.com, because it's Encore with an O, just so everybody knows. But they can find us on, we have obviously OnCore Golf Instagram and TikTok. Our buddy Nick Bennis handles all the social, but he would let me know if anyone wanted to reach out. If they didn't want to email, they can DM me at my own Instagram, which is just Bret Blakely, BretBlakely. Any way they want is fine with me. If they missed all this and ask you, just shoot them my contacts.
Absolutely will. Bret, thank you so much for being a guest on the Growth Fire podcast.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your insights. And we wish you continued success on your journey.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Go Bills.
Go Bills. Thanks, Bret.
Thanks for listening to the Growth Fire podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.